tornadoes.
Oh my God.
Hurricanes. Earthquakes. Natural disasters are our worst nightmare, and they wreak havoc on your home. But they don't have to. As unpredictable as Mother Nature can be, we're going to show you how to stay safe during her worst tantrums.
All right, this is definitely a messy process.
We'll look at the wreckage left in the wake of these disasters and learn how to avoid catastrophe. Join me, Kayleen McCabe, as we learn how to protect your home. When a disaster strikes, will you have the last house standing? Coming up, earthquakes.
Earthquakes can occur anywhere, and they do occur everywhere.
They last only moments and cause mass destruction.
This quake caused a lot of damage. 40,000 buildings were impacted.
We'll learn how to prevent damage to your home.
One of the dangers during an earthquake is actually the items in your home.
And keep your home in one piece.
If this house moves in an earthquake, it's not going. We are here in sunny Southern California, home to celebrities and Hollywood. But it's not always fun and sun here. Actually, California has 10,000 recorded earthquakes every year.
They create tidal waves, destroy bridges, and topple buildings.
Usually they last just a matter of seconds, and anyone that's survived an earthquake can tell you they feel a lot longer.
California, Alaska, and Hawaii are the places with the most earthquakes here in the U.S. But in 2011, the earthquake that made the biggest headlines was on the other side of the country. On August 23, 2011, a 5.8 magnitude earthquake struck near Mineral, Virginia. Its effects could be felt as far away as Connecticut and Georgia. Then, on November 6, 2011, in the middle of the country, a 5.6 magnitude quake struck just north of Oklahoma City, the largest quake in Oklahoma history.
Earthquakes can occur anywhere, and they do occur everywhere. Some states are more susceptible to earthquakes than others, but earthquakes can occur in many states that you wouldn't necessarily expect them to occur in.
We're here in Northridge, California, ground zero during the devastating 1994 earthquake that displaced more than 20,000 people.
A 6.7 magnitude earthquake struck Northridge in 1994. Now, this quake caused a lot of damage. 40,000 buildings were impacted, and in terms of dollars and cents, $20 billion worth of damage.
So what does an earthquake do to a house?
Well, an earthquake can shake the actual foundation of the house, which will cause it to shake and move. But in a worst-case scenario, it can shake it so much the foundation stays intact, but the house slides off the foundation. And then you're talking about total destruction.
Since earthquakes strike without warning, the key to avoiding damage to your house is to be prepared. So I head off to meet Ken Compton, a specialist in preparing your home for an earthquake.
Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, how are you?
Great. Talk to me about what you're doing here today.
We're going to be providing anchorage for this home, anchoring it to its foundation because it's 100 years old and they didn't do it back 100 years ago, so.
The house looks like it's in all right condition, though. Why do you need to anchor it?
Well, they want to keep it in place. They want to make sure it doesn't move off of its foundation in the event of an earthquake. It looks great now, and we want to keep it that way.
How many homes in this area need to be retrofitted for earthquakes?
This particular area has a lot of homes that need to be retrofitted. They estimated after the earthquake in Northridge about 1.2 million homes still needed to be retrofitted. In other words, they were built before current-day modern codes that provided anchor bolting.
All right, well, let's go inside and check out what you need to do here. So we're in the basement of this very old home. What are you going to be doing down here to retrofit this house for earthquakes?
We're going to be adding additional anchor bolts along the perimeter sill plate to secure the sill to the concrete, and then also installing shear panel bracing to transfer floor load to the sill.
The house is on a foundation, but to create this crawl space, they've added in a cripple wall.
Yeah, vertical stud wall along the perimeter.
Yes, and that isn't always connected to the house, so there are some anchor bolts, but these are not enough now?
Correct. They're not enough, and they're not the right size. So we have to install larger diameter bolts and then more frequency spacing.
So after the bolts are installed, then explain why you're putting up the shear paneling.
With the bolts installed in the sill plate, that's only one portion of the work. We also have to make sure that we transfer the load directly from the floor diaphragm down to the foundation system where the bolts are. So if you only have the bolts,
The bottom part of the cripple wall will be securely attached,
the
but
sill
the top
plate will
half.
remain in place and the structure just shifts off the studs.
During an earthquake, a house is exposed to both lateral and vertical forces. If it's not attached to the foundation, these forces will cause the house to shift from its foundation and, in extreme cases, fail dramatically. In this footage from an earthquake test at the University of California, Berkeley, you see the effects of an earthquake on a home that is properly secured to the foundation. Notice how the house twists and flexes between the first and second floor. If it was not properly secured, it would collapse.
The anchor bolts that they're using are expansion type anchors, which are a mechanical anchor. When the anchor bolt is tightened, then the anchor is wedged into place.
While the guys work on adding the bolts to the sill plate, I head upstairs to secure some other items in the house.
One of the dangers during an earthquake is actually the items in your home. So before an earthquake happens, think about securing your heavier items to the wall so that during an earthquake, they don't topple over. In this situation, these two bookcases should be attached together and then attached to the wall somehow. There's a variety of ways to do that. I suggest using an L bracket. This can either go in the corner, can go on top, or if you want it hidden a little bit more, you can flip it over and hide it behind. You just can't attach this L bracket to anywhere. It's going to work the best if this is attached to the top of your bookcase and into a stud. That way, the drywall is not strong enough to hold the shaking of a bookcase, but you screw this into a stud and put the L bracket down on top of it. During an earthquake, this won't move.
Up next, I learn what earthquakes do to your utilities.
A water heater is a major point in an earthquake.
And we finish up our foundation bracing.
If this house moves in an earthquake, it's not going anywhere.
And later, we'll see if making these changes to your home really makes a difference. As we see an average home put to the ultimate test on Last House Standing. We're a few miles from the epicenter of 1994's Northridge earthquake, a 6.4 magnitude quake that damaged more than 40,000 buildings. Earthquakes strike without warning, so the key to survival is preparation. We're securing a home to make it earthquake safe for the next big shakeup.
In addition to the other retrofitting that has to happen in a home, a water heater is a major point in an earthquake because there is the potential for this unit to topple over, and it's connected with water and sometimes a gas line. This water heater here is already set up with flexible water lines, which is a bonus because if this does happen to tip over, you're not going to snap your lines. Luckily in this space, the water heater is already surrounded with walls on 3 sides. So my potential for it tipping over is mostly out towards the front. So I'm going to attach the water heater to the studs using this steel tape. I'm going to bolt it into the back stud back here, wrap this tape around, and then bolt it back in the same place. First, find the studs. I know in a corner that there are going to be 2 studs, one going this way and one going this way, so I'm choosing not to take away the drywall to expose those. If you're not sure though, take out the drywall. Your water heater's not in a common living area, so it's okay to have exposed drywall. It's better to have exposed studs so you can properly attach this than to have a water heater out on the floor leaking gas and water. You can buy the supplies for this in any hardware store. The lag screws, the metal plumber's tape, even a drill or a bit if you need one. And I'm just going to attach this on the same stud I did before with a new lag screw. So it's just that simple to make sure that your water heater doesn't make more damage in the event of an earthquake.
With the upstairs secure, I venture back downstairs to help with the foundation bracing.
Construction is definitely my specialty, but sitting around is something I'm not great at. So I'm gonna go in and help out these guys get this project moving along. So adding this plywood is one of the last steps to make this house earthquake safe. By adding this plywood on, we're making a constant load transfer from the top all the way through this cripple wall down to the foundation. So now if this house moves in an earthquake, it's not going anywhere.
We've cut large holes into the sheathing to promote ventilation. These holes don't weaken the board and are necessary to allow the foundation to breathe.
It is really important that when you're doing work like this, that it's done by a licensed contractor, because there is a lot of code issues and very specific things that need to happen to make sure that this is correct. Not only the nails that you're using, but how close you nail them together.
The outside field needs to be every 4 inches, and the middle, we can go 12 inches.
Well, it is important, you know, this is a big process, and if you don't do it right, well, it's going to be put to the test someday, so.
The final step is to cover the ventilation holes with wire mesh. This ensures that mice or squirrels or any other type of creature don't make a new home in our earthquake-safe standing.